Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you win $200 in free bets instantly. It is that simple. Just remember to use the code PHNX when you sign up. Hey everyone, Chierstin here with Johnny Venerable, Frank Sanders, and what a win in Santa Clara for the Cardinals, beating the 49ers 31-17. So many fantastic performances and so many good storylines to come out of this game. It's almost hard to know where to start, but I'm going to start with this, Frank, because you said you were going to get a tattoo of Cliff Kingsbury, K2, is what you said, if they won this game. And so we're going to hold you to that.
Look, I'm totally impressed by the game. I'm totally impressed by the players, the way they stood, the way they kept the standard being the standard, as we heard Christian Kirk say the other day. But I'm going to keep my word. I expect to try to get one on Tuesday. So if someone knows another tattoo artist that wants to come to I'll do it online and get a K2 tattoo. And
no, we're going to do it.
Oh, so we're going to do it on.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then, but also, if you want to add, I already have my design out there. But if you want to add another design to it, then,
we're keeping it relatively realistic, like smaller.
Yeah, yeah. We're not trying to get a full back tattoo or a tramp stamp or
okay, so legitimately,
shoulder,
we need your help this week. Hopefully, we can do it on Tuesday. This week, if you have any design ideas or if you have any tattoo artists that will travel and can come to the studio so that we can do it during a show.
We'll plug your tattoo agency and all that good stuff.
This guy to my right is going to get a Cliff Kingsbury tattoo, though, because he's that impressed.
Right
if we have to push it to Friday, we can.
And we can push it.
And we're also in studio Friday, but next week.
Look, an impressive game across the board. I wasn't a believer. You guys heard me. I wasn't sold on Colt McCoy. I wasn't sold on the coach coming in with a game plan. I did say if he had a great, he would impress me immensely. That's why we changed. I literally changed the standard of what I would have said. Remember we talked about I need to have at least 11 to 12 to 14 wins or a playoff. And I was like, man, if he can take that band of backups and marry men to
misfits,
right, to San Francisco and pull out a win, division opponent.
Yeah, but that's your fault for thinking that Colt McCoy is a misfit. He's not.
He's been in the league. The only one. He's been in the league 25 years. He's got less than 7,000 yards passing. He hasn't been amazing, but there are some things that was said that you and Johnny absolutely said that I just couldn't buy into it because I hadn't seen him really do it. And when he had a chance to do it, he didn't do it. And I'll reference that back, when we get to that moment. But I swear, I just did not believe in Colt McCoy and what he could do. And literally, I'm gonna get a tattoo.
Ooh.
All right. Sean, super chat. I'll contribute to the tat. There you go, the tat money. We will take contributions of any kind, whether it's monetary or ideas for tattoos or a suggestion, a recommendation for a tattoo artist. So keep them coming. We appreciate that. Colt McCoy's stats for today. He let them speak for himself. Doesn't matter what anyone said about him. 22 of 26 passing for 249 yards and a touchdown, and obviously leading the offense to 31 points and a win.
Anybody who doesn't watch this game and they look at the box score and say, well, Jimmy Garoppolo played well. He had 2 touchdowns. Colt McCoy only had 1. You had to watch this game with your eyes to see the self-awareness from Colt McCoy from first quarter to the end of the game. He was sacked a couple times, but he held on to the football, right? His pocket awareness was immense. We were even saying it, Chierstin, during the game. Kyler Murray sometimes could learn a thing or two from Colt McCoy just about how he steps up in the pocket and keeps his eyes looking downfield. And that's not a shot at Kyler Murray. Frank, you said it. Colt McCoy's been in the league for a long time. He's 35 years old. I had the utmost confidence, I said this all week, that I thought he would play well. I wasn't sure. I was going back and forth all morning whether or not I thought the Cardinals would win. I thought the offense would move the ball, especially when you consider that this front seven for San Francisco has not been what it once was. I thought that they would make a conservative effort to run the football. Clearly, they did that to great effect. Even without the plethora of options at receiver, I mean, Colt was so efficient in the passing game. Even his longer throws, that beautiful pass to Christian Kirk downfield, I thought set the tempo for the second half, where the Niners get that touchdown at 17-7. They think, okay, let's force a quick 3-and-out. let's come back out and score a touchdown. No. The Cardinal offense made it clear in the third quarter, like, nope, this is going to continue because we've got a quarterback who's sure of himself that can make the throws that are available to make. And what he did throughout the duration of the game, it's like, hey, I can check it down to Zach Ertz or Rondell Moore or Christian Kirk, and they can manufacture yards. And I think that, again, we talked about it all week. Distribute to your playmakers. And everybody was so hung up, rightfully so, about the absence of Hopkins and A.J. Green. The Cardinals have one of the deepest receiving cores in the NFL. It was on display today. Antoine Wesley. You know, we're immensely impressed with Colt McCoy, but I would be remiss if I didn't say, and every week I'm more impressed with this team. Even last week, how they responded against Green Bay in the fourth quarter. Cliff Kingsbury is the front runner for NFL Coach of the Year. If you don't think that, to go into this environment where San Francisco feels like they have their mojo back after beating Chicago last week, and you've got a bunch of B and C players, according to the national media, a bunch of guys on vet minimum contracts like Colt McCoy and James Conner, and all you do is Cliff Kingsbury's, you're pushing all the right buttons in an effort to get them to succeed. You're losing offensive linemen left and right. Doesn't matter. It ties Cleveland, in my opinion, most impressive performance of the season.
Do we want to pull up a video of another reason why we love Cliff Kingsbury so much?
Yes.
It has nothing to do with his play calling and everything to do with the fact that he was talking some
Hell
smack
yes.
to Josh Norman on the sidelines.
Look at Hop behind him. You don't think people are bought into their head coach? Hell yeah.
Heck yeah, Cliff. Tell him. You tell him. That's rare that you see a head coach and player from an opposing team kind of go at it on the sidelines. We got a good kick out of that. But hey, you can't say enough good things about Cliff. That's why you're his biggest fan, Frank.
Right now I am. I'm totally impressed. I asked one thing for him because I've been around a bunch of coaches and I've seen them not answer the bell, not necessarily put their guys in good positions, not grow and learn how to be great coaches. He's doing that. He's proven that. He's taken the talent and is becoming creative in so many ways. I mean, like, we got talent, but you have to still be able to use the talent. And he's doing so many good things with our offensive line. He's putting guys in positions. Some of the offensive linemen were getting beat on a lot of plays, but he started helping those guys with other tackles sliding down and stepping down. And we'll get into that in the Frank Knows segment as the week comes. But trust me, there's so many things that happened that was so well today creatively that I really 100% thought San Francisco defense was going to come out and punish us. Yeah. I thought that front four was going to come and just go balls to the wall to try to get to the quarterback, stop the run on the way. But our offensive line answered the call to be physical and not to give in to what could happen on the road, not having all your pieces, knowing you had to run the ball. There was so many good things that happened. Defensively, we'll get to that. We'll get to that as the conversation goes. But just a really well played football game with a bunch of guys that you would have thought that I just honestly, like I said, I didn't believe that they had that something. We're missing leadership voices. We're missing guys getting in their faces. And guess what? I'm impressed. This is one of the most impressive wins that I've seen from a team and going against another good team that needed this win. And they answered the call. So I'm really impressed with this win. Really,
to me,
really
the unsung hero, and it'll get talked about this week, but big number 61, Rodney Hudson, coming back from an injury. The Cardinals greatly missed him, especially last week against Green Bay. The Cardinals played this right. They put him on IR. They let him get healthy over the duration of the last 3 weeks, and he came back with a vengeance today. If you don't think that was a big advocate, not to take away anything from James Conner, why the Cardinals were consistently moving the pile forward. If you go back and watch the James Conner screen touchdown, he's got multiple blocks, including a pancake downfield. To me, I just think his insertion into the lineup and his stability for Colt McCoy on the road, what he did for this Cardinal offense, when you're substituting, they had backups at left guard and right guard throughout the duration of the game. I was so impressed with 61. He is almost as invaluable as somebody like Watt or Kyler Murray to this team.
Espo with a $2 super chat here for Frank's tramp stamp. He is advocating for that kind of tattoo
on like a come on, Espo, not on the back though. You know what I mean? I need it somewhere where it could be at least talked about.
Well, the Cardinals able to key in on the run game, and Rodney Hudson such a big part of how effective they were able to be. James Conner, the beneficiary of that with a monster day. He is our DraftKings Sportsbook app king of the game. He had over 100 yards total yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 of those TDs on the ground, 1 receiving touchdown. He has 11 total TDs on the season, which leads the NFL, and that's the most by a Cardinal player through 9 games since 1973. That was Donnie Anderson.
Wow.
So he is quite literally having a historic start to this season and to his career here in Arizona. The way that he runs, the manner in which he does it. Unfortunately, Chase Edmonds went down, but James Conner is no consolation prize to be out there.
No chance, and I'm guilty of it. We've talked about it on this program before in the offseason. It's like, who are they going to get to complement Chase Edmonds? Najee Harris. Let's get Javonte Williams. Let's draft a back high. And kudos to Steve Keim. He's like, nope, I'm going to buy my time. I'm going to get this former Pro Bowler from Pittsburgh for 30 cents on the dollar. I'm going to get him to compliment us perfectly. And you saw it again with Eno, and we'll talk about Eno here in a second. But the physicality, Chierstin, that you mentioned, and the energy, he's an energy guy on the sideline. And I had an opportunity to sit in on the press conference against Green Bay, and he was so gutted with that performance. He's an emotional spark plug for this team, and guys feed off of his energy. And that was evident today. The Niners like to predicate themselves on pushing people around, and it was obvious coming into this game. A lot of people thought Cardinals they're a soft team. The Niners threw on the Bears last week. They'll be able to mess with Colt McCoy and company. And what did James Conner do? He was in between the tackles, getting the difficult yards, consistently moving the pocket forward. So I can't say enough for Steve Keim, that acquisition. I mean, you got to be thinking about how can we assure ourselves that he and Chase are back with this team next year. And then Benjamin. This is what the great organizations do, right? You stash a guy on your team like last year. Was on the 53 last year. He just never dressed, right? 7th round pick. Get acclimated in the system, right? Because you can't just come in and play right away in the NFL for Cliff Kingsbury. You got to be able to pass protect, right? You have to know all the routes out of the backfield. And so he's active today. Chase Edmonds goes down after the first possession. Eno comes in and doesn't miss a beat, complimenting James Conner. That run over Drake Kirkpatrick for the touchdown, that to me, you're sending a message to not only the Niners, but the rest of the NFL, like, we are going to play smash mouth football. We can beat you in so many different ways. And the best part about this running game, guys, is I think it gives Cliff Kingsbury additional reinforcement, especially when Kyler Murray comes back. Like, we need to be more grounded in our approach and not be so pass happy and consistently going for the big plays. I've said it all year. This team, when they're at full strength on their offensive line, can get 4 to 5 yards whenever they want it. And that was obvious today.
We are going to take a break here from the conversation because Peter has a super chat for Frank's face tattoo of Cliff's face. Go Big Frank. All right, so we've got a tramp stamp, we've got a face tattoo.
I'm trying to add up these super chats here. I think we're still just under $10.
We're going to need a little bit more than that for a face tattoo. Mike Tyson on them. Look, it's impressive. This is one of the. I said it before, this is one of the most impressive wins I've seen.
I feel like we say that every week.
This is just so it's crazy because you just don't. We're doing it in so many ways with so many facets. Defensively today was impressive. We talked about Chandler Jones coming out, and you said it earlier that he need to have a great game. Our secondary needed to show up and basically be the receivers of the ones that we didn't have playing. D Hop and AJ Green. Those guys made a lot of great plays on defense. Vance Joseph moved that defensive line around to create some problems. Our defensive line came to play. They went out to Garoppolo, 5 sacks.
39 rushing yards allowed for the defense.
And then that's crazy because I 100% would have thought that's not even like our strengths.
No. It's unbelievable.
Stopping the
run
to
interrupt you and throw that out there. 39 rushing yards
crazy.
for San Francisco.
It's
not only not our strength, not the Cardinals' strength. It is what they're worst at.
Right.
And what the Niners want to be best at.
So and that tells you the guys came to play. There is something about when I look at you as a player and I know we got each other's back and that we're going to rise to the occasion because we still got to prove that in this league we are who we think we are. And that's what they're showing us. Like, I mean, there's the guys that played today, the rotation of guys in and out and guys they're really not missing a beat shows you how well they're coached, how well they're in tuned, and how well they love each other, that they're willing to play for each other like that. Like that to me is something that's special. And we're watching we're watching something really, really good right now with this Arizona Cardinals, and they look good and they look well coached. And we said it when Cliff was out, is that it's hard to find a coaching staff that seems like they're on one accord. And this coaching staff seems like they're on one accord. If something goes wrong, somebody else has his back, or we're gonna bend, not break, or we will put pressure and try to get the ball back to you. And the defense is just turning the ball over, getting turnovers, and the offense is just going down the field and scoring. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, once again, our DraftKings Sportsbook king of the game was James Conner with over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Once again, if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code PHNX, bet $5 on any NFL team to win their game. You're going to get $200 in free bets. That simple. But as always with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, it is 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And this would be a good time to reintroduce one of our best-selling t-shirts. Maybe we are just effing better. A quote from the one and only J.J. Watt, who, by the way, was fire on Twitter today during the game, supporting his teammates. But you got to love the t-shirt. You got to love what it stands for. And maybe this team just is better. Never mind that, they had a frustrating loss last week. But we were talking to some of the players, and, they were saying, all the great teams, they don't lose back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And they certainly did not, let it be the case today. Peter with a super chat, $10 now. Frank can get a Bruce Lee thigh pad tattoo to show off in his Speedos at the beach and throw on some slacks to look classy at the office. How about that?
Wow, that's very specific.
Are you biting on that one, Frank?
Thigh high. Look, I got my nickname, or one of my aliases, Speedo Jackson.
I like it.
So what?
That's my alias, like Speedo Jackson. So if I'm out having a good time and I don't want to be Frank Sanders, I go, hey, they ask you what's your name? So my name is Speedo Jackson. And so for him to say,
where did you come up with that?
Did you used to rock a Speedo a lot?
No, it's just you gotta have when you at certain places, you gotta have a different kind.
So when he was traveling to Dallas and
when I was going to certain places, so if I'm at a bar when I'm hanging out with the buddies and they want to drink, so then what I would say is, they say, what's your name? I say, well, it's Speedo Jackson. Because my dad is fast and Michael Jackson, I would do that, and it'll flow well. So yes, but no to that Speedo tattoo, that Bruce Lee thigh high padded tattoo. I can't see me doing that. I can't see a calf tattoo, but it will be pretty fly.
We're letting this slide. This Speedo Jackson thing is what? That reminds me of Lane Kiffin going out as Joey Freshwater.
Thank you. See, you got to have you have to have a unique name sometimes. So Speedo Jackson is my bar name, and it's typically, if I'm hanging out, it's just my bar name.
I love everything about
Speedo
that.
Jackson.
That's great.
Jackson.
Speedo
what would your
Jackson.
bar name be, John?
Oh, like Shorty McMichael or something like that. My bar name would be John or Johnny Venerable, because no one would think to look me up anyway. So I can be incognito.
Somebody be like, I know that voice.
I can have a nice drink at the end of the bar and keep to myself. So that's what would be my name.
The only thing I do is I just give out random names instead of mine, so that I don't have to repeat my name or have to spell it for somebody. I just come up with something else. Oh my God. Okay, oh my goodness. Peter with $15 super chat now. Unleash Speedo Jackson on stream, Frank.
Oh, man.
My goodness.
Letting out too much information, man. I can't be doing this. Y'all put me on the spot like this. Let's back to this tattoo and this game on display. Peter, I appreciate you, brother, 100%.
Can we quickly talk? I don't want to put out the fire here, but can we talk about Christian Kirk for a second? We had an opportunity to visit with him on Friday at the Trading Card Club here in Gilbert, Arizona. And he came into this game, default number 1 receiver, right, with a target on his back. And all he did was catch 6 passes for 91 yards, caught all the passes that were thrown to him, and he threw almost a touchdown. I mean, Christian Kirk, for the flack that he got over the course of maybe the first couple seasons, faded down the stretch. This is November football now. This is big boy football. He's a free agent at the end of the year. He talked all about not that, but wanting to win and get this team into the postseason and make a run. When we had a chance to visit with him, I couldn't be. There's so many people to highlight in this game, but I just want to make sure that wasn't lost because I was so impressed with him today.
Yeah, and that flea flicker to Antoine Wesley that helped set up, I believe, one of James Conner's rushing touchdowns. And You can't say enough about him either. I know, like I said at the beginning of this, there were so many storylines, so many, incredible performances to highlight. It's like, where do you even start? So you've got James Conner, Christian Kirk on offense, certainly Colt McCoy on defense. How about Chandler Jones getting a sack? And now he is the franchise sack leader, and had a really awesome gesture to the man who previously held the record, Freddie Joe Nunn, and passed away just last month. And so after he got that sack, he lifted up his jersey and kind of paid homage to Freddie Joe Nunn with his face on his t-shirt. And I just thought that was just an awesome gesture. I don't know how many games in a row he's been wearing that shirt, or he just like felt that today was going to be the day or something. I don't know.
And that shirt looked like old school 100% cotton maybe kind of shirt too. It didn't look like Supreme Under Armour or Nike.
Maybe
Pro
he
Fit.
just like ordered 10 of them, and like every game he would put a new one on.
He can afford that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Waiting on that moment, but knowing Freddie Joe Nunn and what he's meant to, especially me as an alumni, I've had a chance to meet him several times, but to see that gesture, it made me want to well up, because I think that's something special, to always not forget the guys that have come before you, and to see that you've surpassed them, but yet you still remember him. I thought it made me well up, and I thought that was pretty special.
So Chandler answered the bell. Not only that sack, but he had a couple QB hits.
He looked good too.
He did. He looked fast.
He said it. He looked fast. He was down in his weight.
And I'll give Vance
really good.
He did. I'll give Vance Joseph credit. He had some pressures on Trent Williams, but they overloaded the right side of the offensive line for San Francisco, knocked McGlinchey out of the game, gave his backup fits. And I mean, just like we talked about it on the pregame show today, PHNX Tailgate, like, how can you not love Marcus Golden as an Arizona Cardinal? I tweeted out, that man should never be able or be allowed to leave this franchise again. It was a gross mistake allowing him to walk as a free agent a couple years ago. He's on pace now for, I think, roughly 13 sacks. I think Chandler will end up getting double-digit sacks. People always ask us, like, do the Cardinals have enough to get to a Super Bowl? What are the ingredients, right? I think offensively, we feel like check every box. Defensively, Pro Bowlers in the back seven with Budda Baker. Your front seven doesn't always have to be great against the run, but you have bookend pass rushers. And if we get this kind of Chandler Jones and Marcus Golden throughout the duration of the rest of the season on the edge, that's enough. Both guys, I think, will be in double digits. Big Jordan Phillips showing up today, getting in the interior sack. Who knows? Knock on wood. I would love to see J.J. Watt back eventually. Maybe he can take his time. Maybe seeing in December, January.
Who, by the way, is officially on IR, so he will for sure at least be out the next 3 weeks. But hey, maybe after the bye, we'll see him come back.
I think we'll see him. I just can't. He's tweeting and as adamant as anybody else during the game. His excitement level, he can't stay put. Here's what I'll say. I would be shocked if he had surgery. And I think maybe the IR play is just to get right as long as he needs to until it's time to come back. Because surgery inevitably knocks you out long term, right? And there's a huge recovery process. If you're just trying to build your strength up and doing the cold bath in the tub and all that good stuff, I think he'll be fine.
Leah is laughing. Do we have somebody?
Every time Leah laughs, I know something's going on.
I gotta laugh. Zach
Zachary
says, I feel like Speedo Jackson would be the Bo Jackson of aquatic sports.
That's very appropriate.
Oh my God,
that's
too
a good
funny.
one.
You
is a good one.
You do smell a K2 tattoo coming up. We will definitely make sure that happens, and it will be live. It will either happen Tuesday or in the coming weeks. I won't keep my word. It was impressive, man.
Coming weeks?
Well,
coming
days.
Like, we got to get the. Here's what I'll say.
Approval.
You got to get the right person in here to do it. I don't want Frank to get infected or anything. Like, we got to vet the person.
What's that one movie where she like pulls up the shirt and it's
Bridesmaids.
all like a bridesmaid?
Yeah.
Pour some frozen peas on it, you'll be fine.
We don't want that problem.
We can't send Frank to the IR with an infected tattoo.
Look, I posted it. I'm serious. We had a standard earlier, and we talked about that standard, saying it would probably be about the playoffs. And a tattoo is something very serious. And I've had a bunch of people contact me and be like, don't do it, bro. That's a tattoo. But I was like, look, I put it out there because I'm impressed. And I needed something that would impress me. If it's not a playoff or 14 wins or something like that, I know what it's like to lose and what it feels like to lose. And you guys do know the same thing too. There's no difference. When you're a fan, you know what it feels like. And but when
What
you
does that mean?
but when you really
I
start
know.
seeing,
He was like, you know how that is too. I was like, what's
My
that
high school
mean?
football team
Talk about
was
this
the
too. You
runner-up
remember
in
when
the
I-
state
when we talked about
championship game.
that look you showed me the first time we was talking about San Francisco and what they did this year before, that look on your face, I was like, my God.
I know it felt like it was a personal thing,
Thank
though,
you.
Frank.
And so
I don't know.
and that's what it feels like. But to watch what they're doing
How
right now,
dare you, Frank?
no, bro, it's
I'm just kidding.
when we're covering a team that's doing something special. We haven't been here before. Everything looks really, really good. The backups look great. The management looks great. The coaching staff look like they're on one accord. And we're watching our team do something special. So to me, I felt it to be a special moment, and we're going to make sure that tattoo happens. It will be live. And if you guys got some cool designs, put them on the PHNX Sports, put them on the PHNX_Cardinals, and I'll tell you what, we're gonna scroll through it, see what we like, and then we'll make a decision.
Christian Kirk just tweeted out, bet against us. Don't know where they're getting the odds from. Cards win. Hello. Shot straight at Vegas. Maybe we're just effing better. You know?
We are. I think so, especially this postgame show. I just want to say, since this postgame show on PHNX Cardinals, PHNX in general, the Cardinals are 8-1. You know the last time they were 8-1 on a season? Can anybody tell me?
When?
2014. They were I believe they started that season 9-1 with Arians and company. Carson Palmer then subsequently got hurt against San Francisco, knocked out for the season. They still ended up making the playoffs, but you had the likes of Ryan Lindley starting playoff games. We don't want that, so that's part of the reason the Cardinals made the right decision today. I think we should talk about it. Cardinals made the right decision sitting two of their most valuable players in Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, and they said, we're going to let the culture and the guys that got the reps this week do the job, and boy, did they ever do the job today.
And I was definitely anti on that too. You know I was.
Yeah, for sure.
But you made me a believer. I mean, I'm a believer, bro. I mean, like I don't think I'm gonna doubt you too much more on this.
We
the
try.
show.
We do our research. We write the content. We're not always right. Chierstin's right more than I am. I was adamant that I thought Colt McCoy would play well this week, though.
And he did. He looked really good.
We had faith in the fact that there was a reason why they went out and got Colt McCoy, right? And the fact that they did go out and pursue him and bring him in spoke volumes to the trust that they have in him. But I've also heard, just talking to people around, the franchise, that Cole is a more valuable asset than anybody realizes. Not only, is he a veteran, and we saw what he's able to do on the field today, but he just is such an asset to that quarterback room in helping Kyler Murray, whether it's talking through things, keeping him level-headed, giving him perspective, walking him through things, and just being an example for him. He is exactly what the Cardinals needed in a backup quarterback, and he's just one of so many additions to this team this year that are working out so well for them.
I think there's going to be an article or maybe even a book written about this offseason and this free agency period for the Cardinals and the batting average of Steve Keim and the hits that he had, not only from a production standpoint, but a leadership standpoint. I mean, you cannot do better than J.J. Watt and A.J. Green and James Conner and Colt McCoy and these veterans that have come in seamlessly, Matt Prater, and have not only, steadied the waters, but have elevated this team. I mean, I would be on the phone with Colt McCoy's agent after this game, James Conner's agent, get them as key cogs, especially James Conner is still in his mid-20s, and I think this is the perfect role for him because in Pittsburgh, he was asked to be the guy, right? And Pittsburgh, you're toting the rock 30-plus times in cold weather. Here, it's like, be a compliment. Have games like this, and then you'll have games where Chase Edmonds goes off, and that's the perfect formula for success.
I also think that he has played more of a role. We thought he would be more of a, more of like a goal line guy or used in certain situations, but his role is a lot greater than anybody expected when he got here in Arizona. I
agree 100%. He is his attitude. I mean, because the offensive line, like it gelled extremely well because of Rodney Hudson. So that made everything work well. Mm-hmm. But his attitude pushes our offensive line. There's only maybe one or two running backs in the history of the NFL that could say, I did great without a great offensive line.
Yeah.
That might be Barry Sanders and
Walter Payton, maybe.
Without a great offensive line. Everybody else needs an offensive line. But if you got a guy with him with all that energy and that passion, he makes them want to play. He makes them want to block.
They didn't want to tackle him today.
They did not.
That was clear. You watched that screen pass. They were like, no, thank you. When's the last time we've said that about maybe like David Johnson? I mean, with all due respect to like Kenyon Drakes of the world, like James hits the hole with his shoulder pad square and pushes the pile enough where it's like 3 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, and then it's like 20 yards, and he's making people miss. It just, to me, it is one of the top 3 biggest surprises of the season. That, like how the secondary's playing, and then, of course, Cliff Kingsbury.
We talked about it before the game. The Cardinals came into this one 5.5-point underdogs.
I think the line got up to 5.5, depending on the bet side.
And, of course, we go by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, and if you bet that and you bet against the Cardinals, then unfortunately they proved you wrong. But you don't always have to bet on a team to win or points. You can combine any number of bets within a game, a same game parlay, and the more legs you add to it, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. That's why the DraftKings Sportsbook app is our go-to app here at PHNX. And Johnny, how did you do today, by the way?
I did okay. I hit an afternoon parlay, that being with Justin Herbert and company, the Chargers. They covered the 1-point spread and the overhit, so I won about $50 in that game. I'm going to be honest with you. I largely stayed away from this game because the line was so dicey. I know a lot of people were jumping all over San Francisco this morning, but to me, my heart was with this team, and so I may have had the Niners and the points in a parlay earlier today. We're not going to talk about that because I don't want to talk about it, but on the official prediction from PHNX.com, I did pick the Cardinals to win by 1, 28-27, so I feel like it evens out.
I feel like Cardinals fans should be like, Cardinals got back on track, right? Like, we can talk about the likelihood of the Cardinals, going undefeated. It was super, we all expected them to lose at least one game, right? And so now the Cardinals are able to say, you know what, we played a tough game. It was tough how it ended. We stayed in it. Ultimately, we lost. But the following week, we got back on track with a big division win on the road, another 30-plus point performance without a whole bunch of starters on offense. And, now they're heading to Carolina. They've got the Seahawks and they got the bye. Right now, the Cardinals just put themselves back in fantastic position and exactly what you wanted to see. So I think the Cardinals, at one point, they were the cameras were on the sidelines, and everybody on the sidelines, D-Hop and everybody just looked so ridiculously happy and happy for each other. Show the sidelines after Eno scored his first NFL touchdown, James Conner coming up, embracing him. It just seemed like they were having so much fun out there after such a disappointing week. Then you had the long weekend and then another week to kind of just let it all marinate. And we know these guys were so eager to get back on the field. And I think they kind of just were able to erase everything that happened and totally move forward. And they were so excited to be out there.
Look, when we had Christian on, I tried to get him to do something that he wouldn't do, which is really talk about what is really going on in that locker room and how these guys are really responding to each other. And he came up and he said, hey, man, I'm cool. I'm doing great. But the standard is the standard, and that's what we're chasing right now. And it's our standard. Nobody else's standard. Like, even you heard his tweet come out, and he was like, look at Vegas, ha, 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 because what you think of us, we think better than what you think of us. And that, to me, is something pretty – that's telling on what's going on inside and how these guys are believing in themselves, buying in themselves. And honestly, it's crazy. Like, they talk about doing camaraderie stuff, and we do that all the time as players, but we don't necessarily gel how these guys are gelling. And there is the egoness. The egos are like not there. Yep. They're confident. They're cocky. They know who they are, but they know they're fit. Well, they know they're fit. They could be.
Frank knows I'm not a fan of divas.
She's not a fan of divas, but they know they're fit and they're rolling. They do it extremely well. And I think the coaching, man, is just showing. It's telling because we don't really see a bunch of the mistakes. Last year, we saw a bunch of false starts from our offensive line that was killing some of our drives. We had dumb penalties last year on the defense that was really just jacking up what we really was trying to get to. And this team is not – they have not done that. So they're not – that lets me know the maturity is there, the coaching is there. And, if you're as a fan right now, you just really got to be 100% jumping on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, every social media site should be blasting your team out to the world because they really deserve it. They're really performing at a high level, and they're giving you what you desire, which is whatever you're investing in a team, and you got a product on the field that's performing, and even the ones you don't even think that would perform is performing. That to me, I think is pretty
Pete's
special.
at it again.
What you got for me, Pete?
Does somebody else, Johnny, why don't you read this? Because my eyes are so bad.
Does Speedo Jackson have the momentum to rival Crud Muffin? Hashtag Crud Muffin. Also, please donate to the GoFundMe to cover Drake Kirkpatrick's funeral. Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
Eno has expressed remorse for murdering him on national television. Wow.
Yeah.
The former Cardinal Drake
ran
Kirkpatrick.
him over.
Wow, Peter, nicely said. Couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah, and good point pointing out that Drake Kirkpatrick is a former Arizona Cardinal.
The Niners secondary is in disarray. They came into this game without Jimmy Ward. They're starting Josh Norman, who blew up with Cliff Kingsbury, which was hilarious.
Which, by the way, he did say in his post-game press conference that it was nothing malicious and sort of downplayed it. It was some,
I love it.
I guess
so
it was
much.
some friendly smack talk.
Yeah, and then Drake Kirkpatrick at well over 30, who lost his legs last year with the Cardinals, is starting for them. To me, it just shows you like the Niners were so overvalued by the national media and the public, and they were so arrogant with how they handled their quarterback situation. To me, like the Cardinals, you saw it today, top to bottom are more talented. They beat the 49ers at San Francisco with their backups. And the only thing really that San Francisco had to hang their head on coming into the season as opposed to the Cardinals is, well, yeah, the talent might be, a differentiator, but you have Cliff Kingsbury and we have Kyle Shanahan, and that's why you're a fourth place team. I heard that countless times.
Yep.
Vegas had them on many draft sites, I think including the DraftKings Sportsbook app, as the favorite to win the NFC West. So I think that this has poked holes in just switching up from a Niners standpoint. The Niners philosophy that they are a winning program, that Super Bowl season we've seen now is an outlier. They lost Robert Saleh, which Robert Saleh historically gave this team fits. He shut down Kyler Murray in that pivotal Game 16 last year. He's gone. DeForest Buckner, he's gone. They've drafted guys like Javon Kinlaw. He's a bust, right? To me, it's all the mantra of Shanahan, and it's blown up in their face. Cliff Kingsbury now firmly a better winning percentage than Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan's under 500. Cliff is over 500. And I think Cliff put a death nail in the 49ers season this year, and it is hilarious to see. I love it so much.
BZ says, fantastic clock management from Cliff there at the end. And that's something that they've been able to do. It's several times throughout the season. Hey, when you're at multiple scores, you're able to run the ball, take time off the clock in the fourth quarter. And that's something they've been really good at. But the thing is you can do that. I mean, you've got to be up. Or you can do that when you're up by multiple scores. And, the game's in your hands at that point.
They were converting first downs or third downs to first downs. And although they didn't score at the end of the game, specifically that second to last drive before the Budda Baker interception, they flipped field position. That was huge. Picked up key first downs. Colt McCoy, just his awareness in the pocket to step up and make like 3 to 5 yard throws. And then James Conner and Rondell Moore do the rest. Christian Kirk do the rest. Get over the yellow line. Get down, right? I was so impressed with Colt McCoy. Like, he got hit a couple times, held on the football. What'd Jimmy Garoppolo do? What'd Brandon Ayuk do? What'd George Kittle do? They put the ball on the ground.
Yep.
And that was the difference. Niners had 3 turnovers. The Cardinals had none. You go on the road in a hostile environment like that with a bunch of backups, and you don't turn the ball over. And you're putting together methodical drives. And then to your point, Chierstin, when the game is basically decided, but the Niners have a little bit of momentum, they scored 10 unanswered points, you take it. You get a long return on the kickoff by Eno. And then you're just like, first down, flip field goal position, run out the clock, Budda Baker interception. That's what, to your point in the chat, that's what winning programs do. And the Cardinals have been doing it all year.
Yep. Bird Gang Travel Club pointing out, love the Murray here, Frank. I think that's something that we just didn't even address, but yeah.
It's just normal to us.
It's just normal to us.
Wow.
Ooh, Chris has got a great question
right there,
in the
man.
chat. Do we want to answer Chris's question?
All right, Chris Lewis, so where do you rank Cliff on the list of NFC West coaches now?
So not historically, because Pete Carroll's going to the Hall of Fame.
You can't rank Cliff over Pete Carroll when you're talking about their full body of work when Cliff's only had a few years under his belt.
But for this
Thank you.
season,
Thank you.
he is firmly number 2 behind Sean McVay. And I think let's see
How do you say he's behind Sean McVay when he
'cause
just smacked up Sean McVay, went to his house,
I'm not sure
kicked his door in,
I'm not sure the Rams are
got
going to
free
lose
tickets
again.
for a friend of his to come sit on the sideline? Like, come on, bro. Like, that is.
I cannot say at this point. I love you, Cliff. Coach of the year. I'm a full believer. I support the tattoo movement. I cannot say that Cliff is a better head coach than Sean McVay. What I can say is he's leapfrogged firmly Shanahan and Carroll, and the Cardinals are in the co-driver seat for the NFC West. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out.
You say that, and I have to say, Sean McVay, they had to sell every item they had in their stable in order to get him what he got. Just to say he's a good coach who's been to the Super Bowl but lost and got handedly a nice whooping by the Patriots. And the next year came back and stunk it up with Jared Goff. And now they sold everything for him to become this great coach, but our coach has not done anything similar to that. Our staff hasn't done some of that. The Cardinals haven't given away. And, I told him I want him to give away a whole bunch of stuff, but they didn't do that. And all he's done is just gotten better and better without even having the tenure of what McVay has in the NFL. He's just come in straight from college, come in after 2 years. Now look what he's doing. And you still think McVay's better than him? Even though when I came to your house, I kicked your butt with your number one quarterback?
I can't say it yet.
I would say in 8 weeks, just 8 weeks, and you're going to all of a sudden say that Cliff is a better coach than Sean McVay. I think that's too small of a sample size. I think that's being way over dramatic about
over dramatic.
It's a small sample size.
What's small about it?
If Cliff takes his team to the Super Bowl and then continues to have success after that, I would say without a doubt he's the best coach in the NFC West. But it's too small of a sample size.
I mean, I'm just matching it up with what he's had and what I have. What Sean had when he first got into the NFL and what Cliff has.
Look what Cliff has. What do you mean? Look what
I'm saying what he had when he got into the NFL. Like, again, that's time and tenure with Sean. It's apples
Jared
and oranges.
Goff hasn't won a game.
It's apples and oranges
without Sean McVay in his career. That's a little concerning.
And so I'll say the same thing. I'm glad that he got Matthew Stafford, but Matthew Stafford has had the same exact caliber players when he was in Detroit, and he did nothing with it when it came down to it. So we will see.
Good point by Peter.
How it plays out.
Some time between Zach Allen channeling J.J. Watt after a bat down and the slow motion replay of Jordan Phillips rubbing his belly and licking his lips as I realized this D was feeling themselves today. I also think, Peter, great point, 10 days off helped this unit that was leading the NFL in points per game. How soon the national media forgets that the Cardinals are really good defensively. And I thought that opportunistic is the word I would use today, especially in the first half, forcing those turnovers. Because, Kittle and Ayuk, when they fumbled the football, they were driving downfield. So that was a little worrisome. But, I mean, you look at, I go back to, and this is probably, a gross overestimation, but the Chicago Bears, in 2006 when they went to the Super Bowl, they were opportunistic defensively. They forced a lot of turnovers. The Saints, when they won their Super Bowl, a lot of people didn't think that they were an all-time defense, but they made teams put the ball on the ground. They intercepted a lot of passes. That's a lot of what the NFL is, and you can clearly see it's a priority for guys, whether it's Byron Murphy and Isaiah Simmons today or whomever, to go for the football, to punch the ball out. Because we talk about it all the time. I think the most overrated stat in the NFL is yards. It's about scoring points. And you're going to give up yards in today's NFL just with the rules, especially against quarterbacks and receivers, the plethora of talent most teams have. I mean, the Niners have really good receivers. And, I mean, Deebo Samuel didn't do much today, but your guy, Brandon Ayuk, had a big day. Kittle was back. He's a force. So it's you're going to give up some big plays, go for the football. And they made an impression on me today that's what they're constantly going to do.
It was a big day for former Sun Devils. Both Brandon Ayuk and Eno Benjamin scored touchdowns on back-to-back possessions. It was exciting for, everybody here, if you're an ASU fan, regardless of whether you're a Cardinals fan or a Niners fan, whatever, just a fun day for ASU fans all around. But yeah, that defense, they are definitely taught to go after the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And, it pays off for them. 2 forced fumbles, 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and an interception. That is what the defense was able to do today.
They came to play. You talked about Shanahan, how you just you're not impressed. And I had to agree with you today, man. You killed Garoppolo for the last 4 weeks.
If there's 2 people that Johnny hates the most, it's Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo. He's just they offended you at some point.
More Shanahan than Garoppolo, because we know what Garoppolo is, and I think he's a product of Shanahan. Shanahan, to me, I think it's that mindset, at least for me, your dad was a coach, you've been given every opportunity, like you're a good play caller when you're the OC. That Super Bowl season, though, watching that take place, watching their playoff run, like they got break after break. I knew that was an outlier season, and they used every excuse in the book last year with injuries. I just don't think he's a very good coach. I think he can call plays, clearly. He was great with Atlanta once upon a time. He was great with Cleveland once upon a time. But, I mean, the gap with Kingsbury and Shanahan before the season, you would have thought it was the difference between Freddie Kitchens and Bill Belichick. That's how people poised it nationally. And clearly, it's Cliff Kingsbury who came into the NFL with a target on his back, right? And everybody thought he was a joke. And all he's done, I mean, he's going to be the runaway coach of the year.
It's going to be pretty special, man, to watch how Cliff continues to grow. I'll have my tattoo by the end of next week sometime, but
that's where
and
everyone
it won't
wants to
change
talk
it.
about.
I promise you, I won't change it. I know for a fact that this is how it's going to go down, but I'm excited with what we have as a coach, what he's able to do, and what he's presenting to the fans, the other coaches around the NFL, and to all the guys that is in the NFL that wants to come here and play, that thought maybe they was going to play with Larry, or if they didn't think they was going to play with Larry, they knew they had a lot of good pieces. D. Hops went out and recruited J.J. Watts. That means some other guys are going to go out and recruit other guys and ask guys to come and play with this team. Hey, look, you can get a bunch of touches. The offensive line is pretty amazing. We got Zach Ertz. He decided to come here. That's another thing. So that to me lets you know that whatever he's selling, he's doing a hell of a job with it. And what these guys are buying in and believing in, it's showing. And that to me is pretty special. So he hadn't won a Super Bowl yet, but this tattoo is going to happen because I know for a fact, I believe he's treading in the right direction with the pieces he has.
Cliff did things the right way, too, because he realized when he first came into the league that he didn't automatically have respect from his players. And it's taken him a few years, but he's obviously shown up and been consistent and done things the right way behind closed doors and in that locker room to eventually gain the respect. Why would any professional football player have automatically given him the respect? It was like, well, you got fired by your alma mater at the college ranks. You've never coached an NFL team before. Yeah. Why should I respect you? And you got to give kudos to Cliff and everything he's been able to do. We did get a little bit of clarity on that Chandler Jones shirt. He first wore it in the Packers game. And, of course, says he dedicates his record to Nunn, who passed away recently. So he was not wearing it for the last 5 games. He's worn it for 2 now. All right, Chris Lewis, want to thank Frank for signing a teddy bear for my daughter at Phoenix Children's Hospital 19 years ago, Frank.
That was a young Frank.
That is so sweet, Frank.
Look, we've had some good moments. Chris, thank you for saying thank you, but thank you for being who you are. And unfortunately, look, Phoenix Children's Hospital do so much. Unfortunately, your child had to be there, but there's so many things that they do so well, and just glad to be a part of it. If it brought a smile, then I'm happy just to be a part of that, man. So thank you.
Awesome content. That's or comment. That's awesome. So Arizona beating the Niners 31-17 to move to 8-1. So many headlines that can come out of this game, but we asked you for today's headlines. Yesterday's
headlines today. We change the title of this every week because we don't know what the hell we're doing. Basically, before the game, we asked you
headline, you predict the headlines, and then we'll see how you did. That's the segment.
Here are a couple of our favorites. Leah?
This is from Saul.
Yes, our GM Saul Bookman, a venerable, that's a nice touch, performance by Murray dashed 49ers playoff hopes. Replace Murray by McCoy, and you're in good shape.
You have yourself a headline.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
Frank's supporting a Kyler Murray look, even though he was hanging on the sidelines today.
Yeah, look, I know how Kyler feels. When I get into the meeting, I'd be like, look, I couldn't play. Cole did his thing. I'm going to get healthy.
This is still my team.
It's still my team.
Don't touch it, Colt.
But we got to win. And look, proud of the guys, how they came out and played. Coach called a great game. This would be one of those things I think he would say is that the same thing he said when he left the Rams games, or when at the end of the game he said, this is one of the most impressive game plans we've had since I've been in the league. And I think, I think that's exactly where what he would say. This is one of the most impressive game plans I've been a part of or had a chance to watch. You as a player get a chance to see your coach do something without you. And that only it feels better now. The confidence that Kyler can have is the same thing that sometimes Colt would have when he's on the sideline and he hears the plays that Cliff is calling out, but Kyler does not necessarily see it the way Cliff called it. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes you'll get back in the meeting, you'll be like, hey, I called this play, it was on 3rd and 10, because I knew that they was going to run a cover 3 defense with 4 down linemen, and they was going to stunt. But I knew they was going to go that way, so I ran a swing on the backside just so you have an out. And so Colt heard that on the sideline, and then he thought, yeah, just throw the swing. Should be a first down. Good call, coach. And then Kyler comes out, and he does something different. He swings left. He doesn't look back right. But you don't see that. I think now Kyler gets a chance to see that. And he gets a chance to hear how Cliff is calling plays and why he's calling plays. So that's why they say sometimes your backup quarterbacks is sometimes your best offensive coordinator, or your coach. And now you can see that, to me, is a good day for him, because I swear he would have learned so much more about Cliff being there, listening to him call plays down and distance, taking advantage of those moments to see now. So now I know why he's calling these plays when I'm in there as a quarterback.
Just like a J.J. Watt can do wonders for a guy like Zach Allen, or just like Jordan Hicks can do wonders for Zaven Collins.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Colt McCoy can do wonders for Kyler Murray. And I don't know, I think Kyler is not a dig at Kyler. I think Kyler, wants to it be his skill set, his doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that Colt will ever get the full credit that he deserves for the kind of role that he's been able to play in Kyler's development this year. But I think it's been a combination between Cliff and Colt being in there, helping Kyler throughout the process. And I think that's a big reason why we've seen him make a big jump.
This is the first time, great point, that we've really seen like the maturation process of the Cliff Kingsbury offense, because we've thought for almost 3 years, it's just the product of Kyler Murray. Or a lot of people think that. Brett Hundley had a nice second half against Seattle, his rookie year.
Why are you guys wearing
Where it's an homage to Cliff and his Ray-Bans, because he kicked
Cliff
ass. We got to get you a
oh,
pair so we can rock
Cliff
them.
and his Ray-Ban.
Brett Hundley had a second half against Seattle that helped them win. But for the most part, it's been Kyler Murray's show. Thankfully, they've won a lot of games under Kyler Murray. Last year, we got the unfortunate start by Chris Streveler that was a gimmick. And that's why they went out and said, okay, we have to have the ability to plug and play a backup that can come in and win games with his arm and his feet. And so today was the full maturation process of the embedment of the Cliff Kingsbury offense for 3 years in Arizona. And I think, to your point, Chierstin, now he can look at that credibility standpoint, if he didn't have it already, and say, okay, Kyler, instead of scrambling out of the pocket and negative plays, let's step up and look for the man downfield. Let's take the easy plays, just like Colt did here on 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 7, instead of putting ourselves in a hole, because Kyler is the ultimate eraser. We've talked about it throughout the duration of the season. Like, 3rd and long doesn't matter, right? A lot of their touchdowns are on 3rd and long, broken plays, using his arm and his legs, big explosive of plays downfield. What we saw today, I think, was just Cliff Kingsbury saying, like, I can nickel and dime you just like anybody else. And yeah, we'll mix in some big explosive plays, the trick play, the long play to Kirk, but he schemed a lot of those guys open. So I don't think there's a better compliment for Cliff Kingsbury relishing this opportunity to take it to Kyle Shanahan with a backup and having his backup succeed. Because that's a direct product of Cliff Kingsbury, with all due respect to Colt McCoy.
Do we want to take another look at some more headlines?
Yeah.
Colt McWins, Murray McRests.
That's spot on. I love it.
Leah, can you help us out with who tweeted that?
Yeah, at Todd J. Seferati.
Was Todd having some McNuggets too when he was doing that?
I like it. It works.
That's the best one so far.
That's nice.
Yeah, let's do the last one. Chandler Jones makes his first appearance since week 1 sack day.
Also appropriate.
I mean, he had his first sack since week 1, so absolutely.
They did such a great job, that being Vance Joseph. They said, okay, we know Trent Williams is the best left tackle in football. Let's just overwhelm the right side. And when Chandler got a sack, it was against Mike McGlinchey's backup. I think all 3 of Marcus Golden's sacks came either on the right side or the interior offensive line. And it's just like, it's almost like when you take away a great receiver or a great corner, I should say, and you're like, I'm not going to throw the ball over there because Darrelle Revis is over there, or Namdi Asama, or whomever,
Right.
and I'm going to focus on this other side. And I thought brilliantly done by Vance Joseph because, I mean, Trent Williams has eaten this team alive the last couple times they played. He had a great showing against Chandler Jones in the game against Arizona at State Farm Stadium a few weeks ago. That was a much more competitive game, and the Cardinals had J.J. Watt, and the Niners were starting Trey Lance, who was essentially an athlete running around a quarterback. Today, it was just like, okay, we know we can overwhelm Jimmy G, right? He's prone to make mistakes, which he did. He can take sacks, and I'll give Chandler credit too, and this may not stick next week depending on who Carolina opts to start, but Chandler said, we haven't had a pure pocket passer quarterback in a little while, and they were looking forward to facing Jimmy G as a result, and the tune of 5 sacks, I think, speaks to that.
Chandler said something last week when you asked him about his contract, and he said, look, there's so many more things that come into play outside of that determines how a guy gets his contract, and it's not just quarterback sacks. There's actually pressures on the quarterback and how many other things he does well, and I think he put a lot of pressure on Jimmy G. He moved the pocket back. He put some pressure on him. He said he was slimmer. He said he was faster. Felt like he looked stronger and quicker. And he showed great signs of that. Not having a whole bunch of rotation. I'm really not, one of the things I'm not 100% sure is how winded is. Does he feel winded? Because COVID sometimes caused some of the guys to be winded, and they couldn't go a whole bunch of plays. So I'm not sure if that might have been sometimes, because he definitely was. He didn't play the full game. He was on an account. But in truth, when he got in and played, he looked great, and that is something that we can look forward to because we hadn't seen him since week 1. So he looked good today.
He did say that he felt good, but what I appreciate about Chandler is he is well aware of what's being said about him coming into this game, not having a sack since that week 1 tremendous outing that he had. But he stood tall, was very respectable about saying, listen, I know what some of you media members like to say. I know what a lot of the fans like to say. This is what, my bosses are looking for. This is what, how hard it is to get us. He was level-headed and he remained confident in himself and didn't start to, believe what the outsiders were saying. You got to get a sack. You got to get a sack. You're not doing enough. And, obviously COVID threw a wrench into that for a little bit as well. But he didn't get too overwhelmed with, hey, I've got to produce a sack. I've got to produce a sack, or I'm not doing enough here. I think he had the right amount of, focus. And I'm sure he knew, I've got to step it up, if nothing more, just because J.J. Watt's no longer on the field. But, I love that he remained confident and just let the game come to him. And, just another one of the many guys that had a great game today.
Settling in now for Chandler, I think over the next couple of weeks, you get some susceptible offensive lines, Carolina, Seattle. I think this is the start of a trend, knock on wood, for Chandler Jones to rack up some sacks. He said he was kicking himself being out against Cleveland and the likes of Houston with backup tackles. I think he makes up for lost time. Once upon a time, the 3 of us sat here and we're like, can he break the sack record after week 1? I think now it's just about playing consistent football and having an impact every single game instead of worrying about your contract or records or whatever. You've got a great running mate on the other side with Marcus Golden, who's having a career year. The Cardinals are very fortunate that Vance Joseph, if he does anything well, is he can generate pressure. And today they needed to. They needed to rattle Jimmy Garoppolo. It was the one thing the Chicago Bears didn't do last week, and that was the difference in the game. And today we saw errant throws. Even though Jimmy didn't throw an interception till late, look back at how many of those throws to receivers, to Ayuk, to Kittle, were grossly inaccurate. He's not a big hitting the guy in the numbers kind of guy, right?
He's throwing everything high.
Right, high or low and away. And to me, that's when you're in his head. And on the flip side, the pressure that they felt by the Cardinal offense to go score for score was too much. It's the pressure that the Packers didn't feel, unfortunately, on Thursday Night Football, where the Cardinals were shut out in the first quarter. So you've seen the offense and the defense play off of each other. The defense plays well when the offense has an opportunity to run out to a lead and they can pin their ears back. Where the defense is susceptible is if the offense is slow to get started, and they were against Green Bay, teams can nickel and dime them and run the football and take up, huge time in time of possession. So thankfully the offense did more than enough today to complement the defense, and it was overall just a great team win.
I agree. Before we wrap things up, Beanard asking, do you guys think that JJ is going to for sure get surgery now? No, I think we feel like there's a really good chance that he's not, especially because, he would have gotten it by now, I feel like, if they really felt like that was the way that they were going to go. So it seems like the plan of action from here is to just try and heal that thing up without surgery. And he'll be out at minimum the next 3 weeks, which means 4 really with the bye. And, maybe we'll see him after that. But surgery doesn't seem like very likely at this point.
Yeah, we don't have any insight. It just makes sense. Everything that Steve Keim has said, they wanted to keep him off IR, but he's trying to build his strength back up, right? And so there's not a big difference if you're J.J. Watt to having surgery now and potentially missing the rest of the season, or waiting and having surgery in like February and then missing like off-season work. Because what is J.J. Watt going to get from OTAs, right? And parts of training camp. You just need J.J. Watt thinking ahead to next year to be ready in September. And he missed all training camp this year. So right. I think the most advantageous position for him to be is, okay, I'm going to hang out. I'm going to work with my trainers, Cardinal trainers. I'm going to be around the team. And I'm going to try to give it a go, whether it's 75 or 80%, even if it's like a complimentary defensive lineman in December and January. And if that's what you get at this point, I think you're playing with house money, because the Cardinals have shown, like especially with their performance today, with 39 rushing yards allowed, they can still be a really good defense without him. It's just, will you need J.J. Watt against the Packers in the playoffs, the Rams, the Cowboys? That's where I think they're looking ahead to.
Yep. Fellas, any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
I think Bird Game travel for my Murray hat. The tattoo is still going down. You guys stay tuned. We'll be posting it. You want to send some pictures in, give me some ideas, we're gonna make that happen. The super thigh tattoo, not going down. The face tattoo, not happening.
Lower back?
The lower back tattoo, definitely not happening.
What about bicep, like inner bicep?
No, because somebody might lay there one day. And I don't want them to see that there, as in, who's that? I don't know. Somewhere by the ankle. We've already give you a place. It's somewhere by the ankle. It'll definitely be. But great win. I was a doubter. I didn't see it happening. Everything you guys have said definitely came to pass. JV, you, Chierstin, what you guys believed in, I didn't believe in. I was not a fan of Colt. Look, great win for the Arizona Cardinals. Great win for the fans. Great win for us at PHNX in a lot of ways, just especially for me, because now it just makes me that much more of a believer in watching what we're putting together. And that's the reason why the K2 will be going down this week.
I agree. Every single player that's a part of the Cardinals franchise or a fan of this team should be feeling fantastic after this win. Again, 31-17 was the final in this game. If you're not following us on social media, please do so. If you're not subscribed to our podcast or our YouTube channel, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. And again, recommendations for Frank's tattoo, we'll take them. Recommendations for a tattoo artist that would be able to come here and do the tattoo from our studio, send them our way. We need to get this sorted out in the next
What do we want to
days.
say? PHNX Cardinals DMs, maybe? Or are DMs open?
They should be open. I would say PHNX Cardinals DMs or any one of our DMs. I would say for those. Only stay out of my dang DMs.
Don't send it to mine.
Except, don't send it for Frank doesn't check his.
Oh God! Now it's my responsibility to go through this.
No, you can send if I don't check. I don't respond
Sports.
to any DMs unless it's going to be.
Hang on, let's
Frank's tattoo related.
Okay, do it. PHNX_Cardinals. We want to drive people to that Twitter anyway. Those are the go to that DM.
For sure, the DMs are open. Okay, awesome.
All right, cool.
Michaela, our social media director, is confirming.
Thank you, Michaela.
Our Cardinals, PHNX Cardinals Twitter DMs are open. So tweet at us, follow us on social media, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you tomorrow.